What's going on, everybody? It's AG here. Let's take a look at the current bubble picture. Let's talk last four in, first four out. For reference, in the future, this is being filmed as of Wednesday night, Wednesday afternoon. So this could change tonight, could change tomorrow, could change this weekend, but ultimately it's probably going to change. Now, as we move along, we'll talk about the teams. We'll focus in on those, and we'll kind of talk about some of the scenarios that are playing themselves out. I think there's still like 20, 25-ish teams left, for the bubble spots. So it's really narrowing down. Some teams are playing themselves out that they kind of turn themselves into win their conference tournament or they're out scenarios. We have a lot of sort of playing games this weekend. Now it's not going to be ultimately playing games, but like we've got Oklahoma versus Texas on Saturday. It's going to be a sort of playing game to where more likely the losers out than the winners in. Colorado State, Boise State, same thing. Indiana, Ohio State. That one I think is a for sure playing game. We'll get to that here in a minute. Let's go ahead and get started. Join me down in the comment section. Like this video as we move along. First off, last four buys: Utah State, West Virginia, Baylor, and Boise. So for reference here, I think West Virginia and Baylor are pretty much locks no matter what goes down with the bubble. If the bubble was to shrink, if we have some bubble thieves, some bubble stealers, I think Utah State and Boise would move down. Boise has actually got a pretty good resume. Let's go ahead and look at all these teams here. First off, Utah State, 24-6 right now. Wins over St. Mary's and San Diego State, two tournament teams. St. Mary's a lock, San Diego State not so much, but they're pretty close. Their worst losses, and so for reference, every team on here, I'm going to have their two best wins and their two worst losses. UNLV and UC San Diego. UC San Diego is a tournament team, so not bad. West Virginia, again, I think they are a lock. I think West Virginia is in. They've got wins over Iowa State, Arizona, and Kansas, three tournament teams from the Big 12, and then losses to Kansas State and Arizona State. Baylor, 18-12. I think they're a lock as well. Wins over St. John's and Kansas. Losses to Colorado and TCU. TCU ever so slightly still on the bubble. Boise State, 22-8. So they've got some good wins, which is why I think they're pretty much in. Wins over Clemson and St. Mary's, two really good wins. And then they got the conference wins over New Mexico. Loss-wise, they've got Boston College and Washington State. Boise State, I actually think, despite having them lower than Utah State right now, I think Boise is more of closer to a lock than Utah State at the moment. So last four in right now, these would be playing in the first four playing game. Indiana, Arkansas, Xavier, Oklahoma in that order. So Oklahoma is my last team in right now. First off, Indiana, 18-12, wins over Michigan State and Purdue, losses to Iowa and Northwestern. Like I said, they play Ohio State on Saturday or Friday, and that's sort of a playing game. I think Indiana, if they lose, I think they might be out. Now, if Ohio State loses, I think they could get back in, but I think Indiana might be in trouble if they lose. They've had a really good stretch here ever since they kind of fired Mike Woodson, but they've been going on a run here. I think Indiana's in okay shape right now, though, but they're going to have to keep it close against Ohio State. Arkansas, 18-12, played their way back in with a win last night over Vanderbilt. Wins over Michigan and Kentucky. Losses to LSU and South Carolina. Arkansas is pretty close to in, I think. I don't think there's too much they could do to screw that up. Xavier, 19-10, wins over Marquette, UConn, Creighton, all tournament teams right there. Losses to two teams on the bubble, Georgetown and TCU. Xavier, pretty close to in. They need to close it out, though, with a win this week. They do play tonight, so that could impact things if they somehow lose, but I don't think they will to Butler. Oklahoma, 17-12. As of right now, my last team in. They've got wins over Michigan and Louisville, two tournament teams with pretty good records. Their worst losses to LSU and Texas. Again, they play Texas this weekend. If they can win that game, I think Oklahoma's in. First four out right now: Ohio State, Cincinnati, Colorado State, and North Carolina. Ohio State, 17-13, wins over Kentucky and Purdue. Like I said, they play Indiana this weekend, so that'll definitely change some things. Losses to USC and Iowa, two teams not in the tournament. Cincinnati, 17-12, wins over Baylor and BYU. I think they need some help. They're going to need to win this week, and then also probably win a game or two in the Big 12 tournament to kind of get closer to 20-13 type of record. Loss-wise, Kansas State and Villanova. Colorado State next up. Again, and they play Boise State this weekend. 21-9. Wins over Utah State, San Diego State, and Boise State. Losses to UC Riverside and Washington. I think Boise definitely has the edge over them. But if they were to double dip Boise, if they beat them twice, it's going to be tough to overlook that. And then last but not least here, North Carolina, 20-11, wins over UCLA, Dayton, and SMU. The problem with that is the only one of those teams that's actually a tournament team is UCLA. Where North Carolina differs from some of these teams, they don't have necessarily the upside of wins, but they don't have the bad losses. Their losses are to Stanford and Pitt. Stanford kind of sort of on the bubble still. Pitt nowhere near it. All right, then my next four out right now: Texas, Dayton, Wake Forest, and Georgetown. Texas, big win last night. Tried to blow that game as hard as they could. Rodney Terry, some questionable coaching decision. They couldn't even break the press. 17-13. They have some good wins, Kentucky and Missouri, but the losses. South Carolina's a bad loss. Ohio State, that could come into impact them if it's Texas versus Ohio State. But Texas, they've beaten Oklahoma once. They can get another win over Oklahoma and I think jump them when it comes to where they're at on the bubble. Dayton, 21-9. Wins over Marquette and UConn, two tournament teams. Losses to UMass and George Washington. They do play VCU this weekend. That would be a quad one win, which would bump them up significantly in the pecking order. So we'll see what happens there. Almost lost last night, though. Luckily, they survived. Wake Forest, 20-10. Wins over Michigan, North Carolina, SMU. Lost to Virginia and NC State, then got dog walked by Duke the other day. I think Wake Forest needs a lot of help. They're going to have to go on a pretty significant run, almost to the ACC championship, probably to make it. All right, then last but not least here, Georgetown, 17-13. Wins over Creighton, Xavier, Villanova. They got the win over Villanova last night. Jumped them above Villanova for me. Losses to Butler and Providence. Georgetown probably going to have to win their tournament to get in or at least make the championship. Teams not listed on here that could somewhat be in here. San Francisco, if they somehow make the championship, they could sneak in. UC Irvine is another team I'm seeing thrown around, but I really don't think they could get in. Stanford, North Texas, those are two other teams, but we'll see. But as of right now, that is my current bubble picture as of Wednesday afternoon. But who's your last four in right now? Let me know. Comment down below. Make sure to like this video, and most importantly, subscribe.